Hello, my dear students. Hope all of you are great and fine. We stopped in chapter 10, in which we have the French Revolution in France in 1789. Let's complete chapter 11 and let's come across new incidents, new events. Okay. Chapter 11 is entitled The Sea Still Rises. How about the setting? Usually you know me quite well. Whenever I start a chapter, we should know about the setting, about the main ideas, and if we have new characters. The setting, by the way, it is in date 1789, 1 week after the storming of the Bastille. Like I said before, the Bastille right now was under the full control of who? Of the Jacks. Okay? And we're going to go to the wine shop of Monsieur and Madame Defarge in Saint Antoine, and a place they call it Hall of Examination. It's like a place in a kind of a street where the Jacks, they kept on, let's say, not examining or investigating, but simply they were executing, killing a lot of the French aristocrats. So it is a place, an open area, an open place in one of the Paris street, and they call it a Hall of Examination. And then we're going to go to the countryside. Do we have new characters? Yes, sure, we have. The first one, she's a lady, she's called the Vengeance. And that lady, her name comes from revenge. The Vengeance, by the way, it's a title, not a proper name. It's not a name of someone. I just want you to know, all of you, and bear, that the Vengeance is the shopkeeper. Okay, she's a shop owner. And she's a friend of Madame Defarge. You're going to usually see that lady along with Madame Defarge until the end of chapter 20. And we have a person, he is entitled as Foulon, because it's French. Who is Foulon? He was one of the French aristocrats and a treasurer. A treasurer, I mean, he's someone who was in charge, okay, of finance. And finance, I mean simply money. By the way, he's so cruel. Main idea is that Foulon, that person, that French aristocrat or French official, he faked, like he faked his death in order to avoid the anger of the mob. When? During the French Revolution. Second, that we're going to see right now the execution of Foulon, how he would be killed. And we have a meeting between a stranger as well as the road repairer. As you know, the road repairer, he's one of the Jacks right now. And the last important event will be the burning of the chateau of the Marquis. The poor people in Saint Antoine were completely raging. They were so angry, furious, hot under the collar, and hungry as ever. But they had an air of power. Okay, they had power. There was a change in the village. What kind of a change do we have after the French Revolution? Usually any revolution, it has like kind of what you call a double weapon. Like, I mean, it has advantage and disadvantages, okay? For the advantage of the French Revolution, that one more time they have their justice, their rights, no kind of oppression, corruption, that's okay, that's all good. Taking revenge. How about the bad consequences? The bad consequences is that the excess use of destruction, okay, it might lead to, let's say, number one, that the countryside was completely destroyed and ruined. Why? Because people are simply very occupied with one idea, taking revenge, killing, okay? No one is working. Second is people were still oppressed, okay? And everything was completely worn out and lifeless, like no life. It became harder for people to support themselves and survive, but easier to destroy others' life. For the idea of taking revenge, that's all. Women were no longer knitting, but simply were doing what? Fighting and killing. The strangers were seen in the village, and that was so rare to happen before that time, I mean. A week after the fall of the Bastille, like after the Bastille had been sieged or under the control of the Jacks learned that Foulon, who was a hated official, okay, who they thought was dead, was alive and had been captured, like had been arrested. Okay, apparently Fulon, who had said that the starving people could eat grass, what did he do? He faked his own death and he pretended to die in order to do what? To escape the revolution. When I talk about someone who just make a revolution or prepare a revolution, we call him what? Revolutionaries. Okay, people who just performing or having revolution. Okay, they found him hiding himself in the countryside. Upon learning that Fulon was captured or arrested and brought back to Paris to the hall of examination with the help of the devarches and so on. I'm going to stop a while, please, and let me elaborate more. One day in Saint Antoine, okay, there was some of the Jacks, patriots, okay, and Madame Deforge, as well as the Vengeance, her best friend. And they saw Monsieur Deforge coming from far away. So Madame Deforge said, silence, silence, it's Monsieur Deforge who's coming. Monsieur Deforge, he had a kind of a news. He was a bearer of good news for the Jacks. He informed the old Jacks that Fulon, that kind of a hated official person, okay, who pretended that he died a long time ago before the French Revolution, simply he pretended that he died in order to avoid the anger of the poor class. That person, okay, they were able to find him, and he was arrested and captured, and he was just brought to what we call the hall of examination. Okay, it was decided by all of them that they should take revenge from him, that they should kill him. So here it is, the Forges, I mean Monsieur and Madame Deforge, the Vengeance, okay, the Jacks, all of them, they keep on like marching, going to the hall of examination with the intention of slaughtering him. Slaughter like to kill someone. Kill who? Who's him? I mean Fulon. When they were just moving, people keep on recalling back memories. They kept saying like kind of a slogan, like we call it motto. They kept saying, Fulon, the wicked person who killed my sister. Fulon, the wicked person who killed my father, whom I asked him for give me money, he said no, and he asked me to eat grass instead. Okay, that was a lot of reasons there was like numerous reasons, a lot of reasons to take revenge from Fulon, because he was the main reason to kill their families. Families of who? Of the Jacks, of the patriots, of the poor class. Okay, and all of them mostly died because of starvation. When they reached the hall of examination, that kind of Fulon was completely arrested, and of course he was bleeding, okay? And when he asked for mercy, to have mercy upon him, Madame Deforge, she was completely revengeful, like someone who wants to take revenge. She had what I called a vindictive nature, like she needs to take revenge by all costs, at all costs, by all means. And she ignored all his pleas, like requests for mercy. How did they execute him? They seized Fulon, okay, stuffed, like kept on putting a lot of grass into his own mouth, and then they hanged him from a lamppost. That's a lamppost, if you just take a look at the photo. After he had died, they beheaded him, like they put his head on a pike. The crowd then captures Fulon's son-in-law as well, who had ridden into Paris under heavy guard. And the mob kills him and places his head and heart on pikes. The men and women, okay, of the mob, of course, return to their homes that night, still hungry but happy and hopeful for the future. They were so happy and optimistic because finally they took revenge. Took revenge from who? From Fulon. Just take a look, here it is. If you can imagine, Fulon was surrounded by a lot of the Jacks, okay, and just trying all of them to put more and more grass into his own mouth. If I just am going to elaborate more, around that kind of a lamp, okay, you just have a kind of a rope, and as you know that the rope, it has two sides. One rope was around his neck of Fulon, and the other rope was around the lamp. And they kept pulling him up in order to execute him. The rope, it was cut how many times, broken how many times? 2 times. And he kept like screaming, and in the last time it was done. I mean, he was executed and killed. Here's also one more time, just take a look, having his own head on a pike. Fulon head, I mean. At noon in July, the road repairer was working in the poor village in which he found a stranger approaching him. The stranger greeted him, like said hello to someone, say hello like to greet someone, with the name of Jack. They sat on a heap of stone, like a pile of stone, looking at the village. I mean, they were just above a hill, and they were just sitting on a sort of a stone, okay, the stranger as well as the road repairer, looking down at the village, and far away was the chateau of the Marquis. That stranger, he was also one of the Jacks, by the way, he just took out a blanket pipe, fill it, okay, like of course tobacco, whatever, lit and pull at it until it burned brightly, like kind of like a blazing fire coming out of the pipe. That was a sign that the chateau of the Marquis will be burned. That was a sign, it is, for the burning of what? The chateau. Chateau of who? Of the Marquis. At sunset, the road repairer spread the news, circulate the news concerning burning the chateau of the Marquis, okay, to the whole village. On the same day, late at night, four heavy figures of course, they are Jacks. Simply, they are Jacks. They were seen moving into different directions. Okay, they burned the chateau of the Marquis despite the requests, okay, of its servants. Because inside the chateau, there used to be servant of the Marquis, previous servants, as well as, of course, we know Gabelle, one of his servants. They were just pleading for mercy. But the Jacks simply, what did they do? They kept doing what? They soon flames burst out. Flames, it means that kind of the chateau was set on fire. The road repairer and the 25 others who? Other Jacks, of course, stood with their folded arms. That's when you have that's kind of folded arms. Okay, that's how you fold your arms. At the village fountain, looking at the pillar of the fire in the sky. The chateau was left to itself to burn. That's how they took revenge. If you imagine that was completely hard, how about Gabelle? If you just ask me, how about Gabelle? Gabelle, unfortunately, he was arrested by the angry Jacks, by the angry mob, by the way. And they imprisoned him in a prison. You're going to see that more in chapter 12. Well, thank you all, my dear students, and wish you all best of luck.